Imagine a town, quiet, peaceful, almost too perfect. This is a place where the sun shines bright and the birds sing sweetly, where the scent of fresh baked bread wafts through the air each morning, and where laughter and friendly banter echo through the streets. This is a place where everyone knows their neighbours and the rhythm of daily life is as predictable as the ticking of a clock. In this quaint idyllic town, children play in the parks, their laughter a sweet melody that dances on the wind. The adults go about their jobs, the rhythm of their work as steady as a heartbeat. The elderly sit on their porches, their stories of yesteryears woven into the fabric of the town's history. Yet in this tapestry of normality, threads of unease have begun to weave themselves in, subtle and almost invisible. The mailman, usually so punctual, has been arriving late, his eyes darting nervously. The baker's loaves, once the pride of the town, have been coming out burnt, as if his attention has been elsewhere. And the children, they've stopped playing in the park, their laughter replaced by an eerie silence. Unexplained occurrences have started to punctuate the otherwise calm rhythm of the town. A door creaking open on its own, a cold draught in a closed room, objects moving with no one to move them. These are the whispers of something unseen, something lurking just beyond the edges of perception. The townsfolk whisper amongst themselves, their voices hushed and worried, their eyes dart to dark corners, and their laughter has a nervous edge. The once comforting rhythm of daily life has been replaced by a disquieting silence, a silence that is not empty but full of unseen menace. The townsfolk try to ignore the strange occurrences, to maintain the facade of normality. But the fear is palpable, the tension as thick as fog. They go about their routines, their actions a desperate plea for normalcy in the face of the unknown. But even in this tranquility, something lurks unseen. A presence, as silent as a shadow and as elusive as a dream, is making its presence known, and the once peaceful town is now under its unseen gaze. One fateful night, the peace was broken. The tranquility of our small town was shattered by a chilling occurrence. A well-known townsperson, a pillar of our community, had vanished into thin air. This wasn't a case of someone leaving town without notice. Their house was left in a state of disarray, as if a struggle had occurred. Their car still parked in the driveway, keys hanging on the hook by the door, untouched. The town was thrown into a state of chaos. Fear gripped the hearts of everyone, a chilling dread that seemed to seep into the very foundations of our homes. Whispers of the incident echoed through the streets, rumours spiralled out of control, and the once peaceful town was now a simmering pot of anxiety and confusion. Parents kept their children close, friends glanced at each other with suspicion, and the atmosphere became heavy with a fear that was almost tangible. And then, just as suddenly as it had begun, silence. With dawn came the search for answers. As the sun timidly peeked over the horizon, the town awoke to a day unlike any other. The haunting echo of the previous night's incident still hung in the air, turning the morning's usual tranquility into a thick, uneasy silence. The townsfolk, once a tightly knit community, found themselves in the grip of a chilling fear. Each person, each family, each home, now a bastion of suspicion and dread. The local authorities, usually more concerned with petty squabbles and parking violations, now had a real mystery on their hands. They began their investigation with a sober determination, turning the town inside out in their quest for the truth. The local diner, the grocery store, the small park where children used to play, all became scenes of rigorous scrutiny. Even the old church, a symbol of peace and sanctuary, was not spared. As the day wore on, theories began to emerge, theories that started as whispers in the corners of the town, quickly spreading like wildfire. Some believed it was a wayward traveller with ill intentions, while others were convinced it was one among them, a wolf in sheep's clothing. A few even dared to suggest something more sinister, something supernatural. The town's folk, once neighbours, began looking at one another with suspicion. The local butcher, the kind librarian, the jovial postman, all fell under the shadow of doubt. Trust, a virtue once cherished in this town, was now a luxury they could ill afford. Through it all, a palpable tension began to weave its way into the fabric of the town. The laughter of children playing was replaced by the sound of doors locking. The peaceful hum of daily life was replaced by an eerie silence. The only constant was the growing unease, a chilling reminder of the incident that had shaken their lives. Yet, the more they searched, the less they understood. As the sun set on this day of investigation and suspicion, the town was left with more questions than answers, their fear growing with the falling darkness. Just when they thought it was over, it happened again. This time, it was more terrifying, more unexplained than the first. The quiet town of Harmony was once again gripped in the icy clutch of fear, a chilling reminder of the unseen terror lurking in the shadows. The incident unfolded at the stroke of midnight. The old mill, a place of historical significance, now a symbol of an unspeakable horror, was the epicenter. Unseen forces wreaked havoc, leaving a trail of unexplainable events, more puzzling than the first. The town's fear escalated, its pulse quickening with every passing moment. The once jovial and friendly folks were now gripped by a fear so palpable you could almost touch it. The search for answers became desperate, an urgency that echoed in their hushed whispers and wide-eyed glances. The fear was real, and it was spreading. As the clock ticked on, so did the terror, its icy fingers reaching out, touching every soul in Harmony. Normalcy was a forgotten memory. The once tranquil town had been transformed into an arena of unmitigated pandemonium. The eerie silence of the past was now replaced by a cacophony of fear and hysteria. The once friendly faces of neighbors were now masked with mistrust and suspicion. The unseen presence had succeeded in turning the town into a haven of chaos and despair. The town's placid rhythm had been disrupted. The serene morning walks were replaced with frantic murmurs of dread. The laughter of children, once the town's melody, was now drowned in the whispers of fear and uncertainty. The once bustling marketplace was now a ghost town. The unseen presence had infiltrated the essence of the town, turning every corner into an echo chamber of fear. Theories about the unseen presence had turned into accusations, and accusations into paranoia. The harmony of the town was shattered, replaced by a chilling discord. The unseen presence was not only a threat to their lives, but to the very fabric of their community. The unity that once bound the town was now a distant memory. Friendships had turned into suspicion, trust into betrayal. The unseen presence had not only brought fear, but had torn apart the very soul of the town. In this chaos, the unseen presence found its triumph. It revelled in the fear, fed on the suspicion, and thrived in the discord. It was no longer just an unseen presence, but a malevolent force that had taken over their lives, their town, and their minds. It revelled in the town's despair, it thrived on the town's fear, and it smirked at the chaos it had orchestrated. But even in the midst of this chaos, there was a glimmer of hope. The town was down, but not defeated. It was scared, but not surrendered. It was in chaos, but not destroyed. The unseen presence had yet to face the spirit of the town, the spirit that refused to bow down, the spirit that refused to give in. In the midst of chaos, the unseen presence smirked. But the town was not yet ready to admit defeat. Out of the shadows, the unseen stepped into the light. The light, however, was not an illumination of the physical, but rather a revelation of the psychological. The unseen was not a creature of flesh and bone, not a monster hiding under the bed, or a phantom lurking in the attic. It was an entity, a spectre of sinister intent, a malevolent force that had chosen this small town as its feeding ground. It was as though the town had become a banquet for this entity, feeding off the fear, the panic, the sheer terror that had gripped each citizen. Every scream, every frantic heartbeat, every cold sweat of dread was a delightful morsel for this unseen predator. And as the town's fear grew, so did the entity's power. This entity, this unseen, was not born of this world. It was not a product of science gone wrong or an ancient curse awakened. It was a manifestation of pure fear, an embodiment of the most primal human emotion. It was as old as humanity itself, born from the first fearful thought of the first human being and growing stronger with each passing generation. The town's fear was its feast, and the more they cowered, the more it feasted, growing stronger and more powerful with each passing moment. The unseen revelled in the chaos, the pandemonium, the disorder that it had sown. Every cry of fear, every plea for mercy was a symphony to its ears, a testament to its reign of terror. Yet even as it revelled in its power, the unseen was not satisfied. It was not content with merely feeding off the town's fear. It wanted more. It craved domination, total control, absolute power. It wanted to consume the town, to absorb it into its very being, to make it a part of itself. And as the town cowered, the entity prepared for its final act. The unseen was ready for the grand finale, the climax of its dreadful symphony. It was ready to reveal its true power, to show the town just how much fear it could instill, just how much terror it could sow. The unseen was ready to step out of the shadows once more, to reveal itself in all its horrific glory.